The Lal Street remains under pressure ahead of Trump's 50% tariffs on India. A broad-based fall saw the Nifty and the sensex end over 1% lower, recording its biggest single-day fall in 3 months. Except FMCG, all the sectors end in the red. Pharma falls the most as Trump pushes for a cut in drug prices.
A couple of stocks doing well. Protein E-Government secures a near 1,160 crore order from UIDAI. The stock surges over 8%. BLS International too gains 1% after it got a 2,000 crore order from UIDAI.
Vodafone Idea tanks nearly 9% after the Minister of State for Telecom says there is no additional package being discussed for the company. Adds whatever has to be done has been done. Also says the government will not up their stake and make Vodafone Idea a PSU.
Good evening. You're watching us here on Markets Forward, your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to get up for the next trading day. I'm Mangalam Malu, with me Reema Tendulkar. Well, it was a down day today for the Nifty, ended very close to 24,700, below the 20-day moving average. And there were a lot of elements of uncertainty, right from Trump's tariffs, which go into effect from 27th. Along with that, we have the monthly expiry playing out, and a lot more in terms of outflows coming in from the MSCI as well. All in all, the markets were jittery. Hi, Reema.
Hi, you can see that. The mid-cap index down over 1.5%. The small-cap index ending with a cut of nearly 2%. The advanced decline ratio had more than 2,000 stocks declining for about 600 stocks advancing. The capital market index, the defense, realty, PSU banks, pharma, reeling with deep cuts. We'll talk more about individual stocks. Let's also tell you what we've lined up for you on our show. We start with the top movers and shakers. The stocks which are in focus today are Sun Pharma, Maruti Suzuki, Vodafone Idea. We'll tell you why these stocks were in the news, and then we'll get to the key market events to watch tomorrow. But tomorrow, of course, is a holiday, so we'll apprise you of what's on the tap on Thursday. But let's get to our first segment then. Vivek is now at the big wall with the big movers and shakers. Vivek.
Well, thank you so much for that. Well, like you mentioned, the breadth, especially in the broad end of the markets, was extremely weak. More declines and advances throughout. A few sectors, managed to buck the trend. The auto pack clearly standing out in terms of the kind of strength it displayed throughout the trading session. Names like Hero Moto, Maruti, Ola Electric, Ather Energy, these are the stocks from the auto pack that continue to see gains throughout what is a very weak trading session. The FMCG pack too, clearly today some defensive buying was seen. In the FMCG pack, most of the stocks, while they cooled off in the last hour of the session, did manage to end the day with marginal gains. Britannia clearly standing out on the back of the GST-related news flow. That stock ended higher by over 3% today. Protein E-Government, we've been speaking about the stock throughout the trading session. A large order win coming in from UIDAI, over 1,100 crores, and that stock ended higher by almost 9%. But a whole host of laggards is what we were looking at throughout the trading session. Top on the list was the telecom pack, both Vodafone Idea and on the back of that Indostar. No further relief likely for the telecom space, especially Vodafone Idea, and the back of that, both of these stocks under significant pressure today. Zydus Life, you saw a note coming in from Investec. They initiated a fast sell rating on the stock, elevated valuations. They see further downside from current levels, almost 4% lower for Zydus. Sai Life, we had intimated earlier, prior to market open, that there was a large trade likely. Almost 15% equity change, and the stock ended lower by 6%. Policy Bazaar, select insurance stocks continue to witness selling pressure throughout the trading session, and over 3% lower for PB Fintech. And the entire metal pack today, especially steel stocks, all of them, including the metal index, under significant pressure. Tata Steel low by almost 3%, JSW Steel 1%, JSPL 2%. So the entire pack was under pressure in the session today. Overall, a weak trading session, more declines than advances.
More decliners than advances. To be precise, 2,200 stocks which were ending on the way down, as against 620 stocks which were higher as well. Thanks a lot, Vivek, for that. Let's get in our experts to join us on the show. We have Jay Bala of CashTheChaos.com and Sudeep Bandyopadhyay at IndiTrade Capital joining in as well. Jay, we were speaking to you, just moments ago on closing bell. The question obviously is, do you think markets have turned a corner on the way down? If not, then what are the levels that we need to watch out for as support from where we can look at high levels from here on?
Yeah, the August low of 24,337 is very important, and I think the move from 24,337 to 25,153 has already put in an important trend change. If I'm going to be wrong about it, the August low needs to get taken out. But even if that were to go, which is quite a low chance, the Nifty would probably drop to 23,500 and resume its uptrend post that. But even breaking 24,337, in my opinion, is quite low. So the support in between 24,337 and now is at 24,645 and 24,500. I think these two levels are likely to hold, and we are likely to see markets to turn strong when we come back from the holiday.
Okay, let's talk about Maruti. That's a stock which touched record highs. This is after the company launched its first battery electric vehicle, e-Vitara, at the Hansalpur facility in Gujarat. In addition, the Maruti CEO has also announced plans to invest 70,000 crore rupees in India over the next 5 to 6 years. Sudarshan joins in to tell us the news and the implications. Sudarshan.
So over the last few days, Maruti has been outperforming all the other stocks in the auto sector. And today also the stock was up almost 2% and has hit record high. It was up almost 2%. Now it's on the basis of two news flows. First, company has rolled out its first battery electric vehicle, e-Vitara, from its facility in Gujarat. And second news is it has begun production of lithium-ion battery cells and electrodes for its hybrid vehicles. So first, talking about its battery EV, company is looking to start deliveries in the next few months. And the first focus would be the export markets, looking to export in almost 100 markets, including Europe and Japan. And the target in the units is 50,000 to 1 lakh units on the annualized basis. But for the domestic companies, yet undecided when exactly it's looking to launch in the domestic market. Second, about batteries and electrodes production, companies saying the new battery plant that is set up in joint venture with Toshiba, Denso and Suzuki, it will enable local manufacturing of hybrid battery electrodes, and over 80% of it will be manufactured domestically. So basically, it's a boost for Make in India that PM Modi has been talking about. About the capex plan, Suzuki has announced the capex plan of almost 7,000 crore that company is looking to invest over the next 5 to 6 years in India. Lastly, Maruti Suzuki chairman R.C. Bhargava has talked about policy shift, especially for hybrid vehicles. It has requested government to tax hybrid vehicles on the line with EVs, because he believes that except Indian market, if you look at other global markets, EVs and hybrid vehicles are taxed equally. So he has made a request to government. Let's see what exactly the government's response would be to the Maruti chairman.
Take that point, Sudarshan. Thanks a lot for that. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who flagged off the first unit of the e-Vitara in Gujarat's Hansalpur, has vowed support for Indian farmers and small entrepreneurs as US's additional 25% tariffs come into effect tomorrow.
मेरे देश के लघु उद्यमी हो, किसान हो, पशुपालक हो, हर किसी के लिए मैं आपको बार बार वादा करता हूं, मोदी के लिए आपके हित सर्वोपरि है। मेरी सरकार लघु उद्यमियों का, किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी। दबाव कितना ही क्यों न आए, हम झेलने की अपनी ताकत बढ़ाते जाएंगे।
All right, let's get Sudeep in. Sudeep, your thoughts on Maruti, the consumption space, and the likely impact of tariffs on India, and as a result of which on individual stocks?
Well, of course, consumption definitely is an interesting space as things stand today. Of course, the multiple things have happened. One is good monsoon, interest rates have come down. We are in the onset of the festive season. Income tax rates, there have been relief given to common man. So consumption was expected to get a boost. On top of it, the Prime Minister's announcement of GST rationalization will definitely act as a big push for the consumption story. I'm very hopeful on the consumer durables picking up momentum in the festive season. We already have seen FMCG getting excited on the back of all the GST rationalization talk, particularly items which expect significant GST relief, like biscuits. Beyond that, I think, as far as exports are concerned, obviously the tariff is a matter of big concern for textiles, gems and jewelry, as well as leather goods exports. I think these are the three segments overall from an economic perspective which gets impacted the most, as they involve a lot of people who are working there. They also get impacted. So we'll all look forward to government coming out and giving some incentive or some structure which can, to an extent, mitigate the imposition of this significantly higher tariff. Because at some stage, government has to intervene if this continues, and which is likely to continue from tomorrow. Beyond that, I think GDP will definitely take a hit if this continues, and the hit may be anywhere up to 0.5%. And we have to, incentivize and support many sectors so that this damage done by this tariff is to an extent taken care of by domestic consumption and exports to other markets.
Sudeep, particularly Maruti, there is a possibility that the GST on small cars comes down. And considering that the small car entry level was struggling for Maruti now for the last couple of years, do you think that can revitalize that segment for Maruti, which can boost the share price? Or is it already, the stock being at record highs already, is pricing in the good news?
I'm very confident, Rima, that there will be incentive on small cars in terms of GST reduction, and that definitely will push up the small car sales. That's one segment which has not been doing well for quite some time. All the factors which I was talking about earlier, including the festive season, interest rates coming down, and GST reduction will help that. But having said that, I'm not very hopeful of share price going up even further, because to a great extent all these have already been factored in the price. I think Maruti at 14,700 plus does factor in most of this. So I'll wait and watch. I won't jump to buy shares. If I have to buy some automobile company share, probably I will go for Hero MotoCorp. I think that stock does look poised for a further upside from current levels. Also, some of the auto ancillary companies can definitely be looked at. Motherson Waring is one company, which is a small company, but has a significant potential with facilities booked. And with Maruti launching EV, because it's into electric wiring and wirings. Some not Motherson, some other Motherson, but Motherson Waring. I think that's one company which one needs to look at.
All right, we take that point. So that's one company that one needs to look at. Look at Vodafone Idea tanked nearly 9% in today's trading session, and this after there was clarification that has come in from the regulators or the Minister of State saying that it may perhaps be the end of the road for them, largely because there is no additional package coming in for Vodafone Idea. The government said whatever they've done has been done already, and they don't also intend to increase their stake in the company and call it a PSU. In fact, our colleague Ashmit spoke with them, and this is what he had to say. Ashmit.
Well, I had a detailed conversation with the Minister of State for Communications, that's Dr. C.S. Pemasani, and we tried to put across to him various questions, multiple questions on if at all there's any relief in the works, if there are any options being considered, what the future trajectory of the government position can be, what about the government stake here, and all these aspects we came across to him. However, the response that fell from the Minister of State, Dr. Pemasani, has been clear, is that whatever the government had to do is already done, that they've already done equity conversion to the extent of 57,000 crore rupees of dues, that has taken the government stake to as high as 49%. They don't want Vodafone to turn into a PSU, going on to say that there's nothing on the table right now, there's nothing on the platter, there's no consideration of any relief package underway as far as the government is concerned, as far as the DOT is concerned, going on to say that this is an issue that is perhaps best dealt by Vodafone Idea itself, by its management. We also asked him if there is some consideration that perhaps in the future can be looked at, for instance, maybe a tweaking of the payment schedule, increasing the timeline, maybe waiver of penalties, waiver of interest dues, and all those aspects. Again, the minister clarifying that as of right now, there's no relief being considered for Vodafone Idea, and that does put the company in a slight spot of bother. Bear in mind, they are currently operating under the AGR moratorium period. It runs out in March of 2026, and then subsequent to that, they will be looking at annual payments only with respect to AGR, those annual payments will stack up to about 18,000 crore rupees a year. So big news is what AGR is looking at. For now, the government saying nothing on the table.
Got that. Thank you very much for that. And you can see the stock price under pressure. Sudeep, Vodafone Idea, would you skip it completely?
Oh, absolutely. I've been saying for this for quite some time. It's a completely speculative bet on some support coming from somewhere. That's what people were playing on. Look, beyond all this, operational performance also hasn't been anything great. Post the fundraising, which they did last year, we were expecting at least the operational performance will improve, but they're still bleeding customers month on month, quarter on quarter. There is absolutely no reason for that, but that's what is happening. So under the circumstances, operationally, things are not looking good. And as far as funding is concerned, there is a huge challenge for this company to kind of get fresh funds unless they get some support from the government or some other sources, which now looks unlikely.
All right, that's the point on Vodafone Idea. Let's get into the pharmaceutical space. And Sun Pharma and Zydus Life, both of them were lower in today's trading session after they got a ratings downgrade from brokerages, as well as Trump's comments that weighed in on these stocks because of the cut that he intends on drug prices. Ekta, why are brokerage firms downgrading Zydus Life and Sun Pharma?
Well, yes, pharma stocks are in focus because there were some comments which came in from the US President Trump as well, mainly focused towards innovative drugs, but maybe it could have perturbed a little bit of sentiment. So the US President has said that he will look to slash drug prices between 1,400 to 1,500%. Quote unquote, going to do a number on costs of drugs in the US. And remember that the statement comes a month after Trump sent letters to pharma companies such as J&J, Novartis, Merck, Pfizer, etc. It's also set a 29th September deadline to lower drug prices. The demand is to extend the most favored nations pricing to all Medicaid patients. Earlier this month, remember that the US President Trump said tariffs on imported pharma products can reach as high as 250%. So that's probably shaken a little bit of sentiment, because the move is to eventually move manufacturing back to the US. Now, BofA Securities separately has written on Sun Pharma. They've downgraded the stock to underperform. They've cut the target price. According to them, they expect slower revenue ramp up from new launches compared to consensus. Sun may pursue further specialty acquisitions, but the upside, according to them, is already priced in. Most favored nation clause could continue to weigh on Ilumya, which is one of their key drugs in the specialty portfolio. Investec has written on Zydus. They have a sell target price of 940. According to them, the valuation is now unfavorable and the valuation, and it's an earnings risk as well. Mirabegron, ER and Revlimid generic, two drugs together contribute to around 35% of FY26 EBITDA, and both face risks of disappearing without backup products, according to them.
Thank you, Ekta. We'll slip into a break. On the other side, top corporate voices and the big events to watch tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Well, the markets were lower today on account of a truncated week and the uncertainty around tariffs, but we did speak to a lot of corporate voices, and let's get you all of them. Titagarh Rail's board had approved the demerger of its shipbuilding arm into an SPV earlier this month. While the core business remains unaffected, the company is building capacity for 16 to 20 vessels per year, and they expect the shipbuilding business for them to be almost 1,500 to 2,000 crore rupees in the next 3 to 5 years. They focus on the next 1 year is to build a strong order book in this business. Add to that, passenger rail also likely to add to their revenues over the next 2 to 3 quarters, with EBITDA margins of around 12%.
Vikram Solar expects 15.5 gigawatt capacity expansion in FY26, is confident of strong overall revenue growth. The company sees revenue rising 30 to 35%, with margins remaining healthy. EBITDA margins are set to improve from next year as well as new cell capacities come online. The company also said the ALMM List 1 is helping deter Chinese dumping in the domestic market.
JK Paper fell over 5% after a sharp rally yesterday following the government's move to tighten import conditions for certain paper and paperboard products. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the company's management said the step would benefit the domestic paper industry, which has been facing heavy dumping of VBP from Indonesia. JK Paper, with a market share of 18 to 20%, expects that its share will remain steady and indicated that there could be a price hike in the industry over the next 10 to 15 days.
And before we wrap, we'll bring you the key market events to watch out for tomorrow. Riaz joining in.
Well, yes, plenty of events to watch out for over the next couple of days. On the 27th of August, the 50% tariff rate imposed by the US on Indian goods comes into effect. Indian markets will also remain shut tomorrow on account of Ganesh Chaturthi. In terms of economic data, we'll be watching US crude oil inventory numbers as well as UK inflation figures. On the corporate side, Acme Solar's board meets to consider a fundraise, while Vedanta has its record date for an interim dividend tomorrow. Looking ahead to the 28th of August, it's a heavy date for macro data. We will get US GDP and weekly jobless claims, India's industrial production numbers, along with PMI prints from the European Union as well as the UK. And in terms of key events, Bitcoin Asia 2025 kicks off in Hong Kong, while Europe hosts an informal meeting of EU defense ministers on the 28th of August.
All right, take that point, Ria. Thank you so much for joining in. With that, we'll wrap up on this edition of Markets Forward. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18 and wishing all you viewers a very, very happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
करो ठीक